You know, the other day I put forth a video demonstrating some absolute proof that evolutionism is false and the Earth is not billions of years old. And it pertains to folded strata, folded mountains. You see all the mountain ranges of the Earth are folded. It's kind of funny that the book of Job, written about 1500 years BC, tells us that God overturned the mountains in his anger. Guess what? That's exactly what we discovered today. Yup. Bible's right again. But I had some really ridiculous comments on that video, one of my most recent videos, where I discussed this proof, that the Earth is not old, and that evolution never happened by explaining folded mountains. You see, the strata of folded mountains could not remain plastic for all the millions of years that evolutionists claim mountains have been rising. See, all the mountains rose quickly, rapidly, during the flood of Noah. They came up out of the sea, as a matter of fact. That's why they have folded strata. And so the evolutionists, they've been posting arguments on my video here, and trying to refute this. See, I asked for proof that cold hard rock can be squeezed so that it swirls and curls every which way, because that's what folded strata do. You see, the mountains are all, the strata are all twisty and turvy, and it proves that the whole mountain was plastic, soft, that is. Still soft from the flood of Noah when it rose out of the ocean. It means it rose out of the ocean in no time whatsoever. Less than a month, you see. That fast. And about a month, maybe. Because it had to be very, very quick like that. Because, once the water is sucked out of a mountain by the gravity of the earth, it gets hard and brittle, and it would just break apart. It couldn't be squeezed. So that these strata would be folded and swirled and curled every which way. And the evolutionists have been trying so hard to demonstrate tell me that that's wrong. Of course, it's not wrong. It's impossible for cold hard rock to be bent, curled, and swirled in every which way. Rock has tensile strength. It's strong, but once it cracks, it breaks. It just crumbles. Okay, and these strata would just crumble and break in every which way. So it proves that the mountain rose rapidly. But these are some of the ridiculous comments that I've got.
Okay, let's examine this. As usual, real science isn't even needed to counter this nonsense. All that is needed is a small dose of reality to shoot this stuff down. So water makes rock plastic, does it? Let me tell you a story about the mines in my part of the world. Over 2,000 feet down, the water pours out the walls at such a temperature that the miners work in shorts. Not 300 degrees, granted, but you can imagine how much hotter it gets and greater the pressure is with more depth. Take it from me, it's bloody hot down there. The rocks are saturated, and it is only the constant use of powerful pumps that allow the mine to operate. I have to tell you that even under these conditions, the rock does not bend. So water-impregnated rock doesn't make it plastic. Okay, you may counter that by stating the rock as already being solid, and the rock is actually granite overlaid by metamorphic sediment. I doubt it though, because that is far too logical a question to come from you. Now here is your chance to do an actual experiment. Experiment, Neph. That's what scientists do. Take any rock of your choice, grind it, and then add to water until it is of the optimum consistency for demonstrating your case. Heat to 300 degrees or whatever temperature you like. Now try to fold it without fracturing it. Guess what? You won't be able to. You see, it's not water, even hot water, that provides plasticity. Also, it is not gravity that sucks out water. You can test that yourself by mixing up some concrete and observing it dry. Shame how facts get in the way. However, let's play Yahweh's advocate and pretend that you have all the strata bent in unison in a non-solid state. The layers will be composed of different materials, exhibiting differing structures and thermal and water-bearing properties. What do you think will happen as the exposed layers with different properties start cooling? Especially rapid cooling. By the way, we will overlook the fact that these wet layers do not intermingle, as that would be one embarrassment too far. Bearing in mind that you claim that the layers were above the surface, then there is no restriction to any movement. Anyhow, this wide range of properties both between and within layers will impart a wide range of internal forces or stresses. Because the layers of strata are on the surface and are unrestricted, these forces will fracture the orderly bends in the layers. And that's even if they started as plastic, which of course you have to yet prove beyond merely just saying so. So we can conclude that your preconceived wishful thinking is absolutely impossible, i.e. the layers can't remain bent as one. The only possible answer is that the layers experience great pressure by being buried to great depths, causing plasticity. But let's correct just one tiny piece of that huge void in your scientific knowledge. It is true that water is instrumental in the formation of sedimentary rock, but that is in the formation. Water and gravity will accumulate loose sediment. As more sediment builds up, the pressure expels the water in the lower levels, allowing lithification to take place. After that, you can largely dismiss the rock as having water content, although non-porous rock does retain small amounts. So the water-sodden layers that you start with cannot be described as rock. Now, when something is plastic and has no freedom of movement due to burial, then it has no option but to bend and fold. Also, bear in mind, there is no reason why plasticity cannot be endured over vast periods of time. The different strata will exhibit bending as one because of the restraint caused by the depth. And of course, the bent layers will cool very slowly as they approach the surface due to either uplift and or erosion. By the time they are exposed to the surface, these bent layers will already be cold, hard rock. Comparing the two explanations, we see your wild guess is an absolute impossibility and proves beyond all doubt an old Earth. You know, your wild assertion is a bit like bullet points, or shall we say dots. But the problem is that those dots have to join each other to make a coherent and consistent explanation. None of your stuff ever does. Anyhow, Neph, let's look at the responses you made to the comments that you received.
But these are some of the ridiculous comments that I've gotten. This one here says, by the way, your latest video doesn't mention elastic or ductile deformation, which is a mechanism by which cold hard rock can be bent. It occurs at about 300 Celsius and high pressures, found only a few hundred feet down. Here's my response to that. The Earth, 300 Celsius, you've got to be crazy. You expect people to believe that this mountain remained at 300 Celsius while it was rising out of the earth? It had to have remained at that temperature until it finished rising, you see. Got where it is today? Because otherwise its strata would have broken. And if the mountain was, if all the mountains of the world were 300 Celsius, that means that the Earth's environment would have had to been roughly that temperature as well and slowly cooled. Which means evolution couldn't have taken place, because that temperature would boil everything on the Earth. Put a mouse in your oven and turn the temperature up to 300 Celsius and see what happens to him. First you'll hear him pop, then you'll hear him sizzle. Okay? No life would be on the Earth if the mountains had ever been 300 Celsius while they were rising.
To have mercy on my dear viewers, I will cut out quite a bit, because Neph uses this newfound gem of an argument to counter most comments.
Here he says, confining pressure. At high pressure, minerals less likely to fracture. Yeah, at higher temperature too, pal. Higher temperature. Higher temperature is required, not just pressure. They know it's true. Experiments have shown that folding of layers of hard material can be done slowly under pressure. Yeah, at a high temperature. Temperature that life can't survive in at the Earth. Here's another. And he says, the sequence is sedimentation, burial, orogeny, under many kilometers of subsequent layers. Well, no, you see, actually, that's not true because, you know, these sediments rose up out of the Earth while they were plastic. That's why they're folded. They didn't fold like that under the Earth and then get pushed up without folding. Duh. Next one, he says. Also, no water was required, just great pressures. Duh. Major fail. All strata on the Earth are formed by water. 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 I've said it before and I'll say it again. The average layperson evolutionist is totally ignorant of the subject even before they open their mouth.
And a layman is all one needs to be to debunk your nonsense. So you can imagine how a scientist would rip you apart. I wince at the thought. Talking of being a layman, I have to say your arguments are lame, man. Haha. And when an animal goes lame, we normally put them out of their misery. Like I said before, stick to Bible reading videos, as you are seriously embarrassing yourself on YouTube. Because debating you
like taking candy from a baby.
Oh, and before I go, a bonus. You said...
Next one says, the stress required to bend rock would not require it to become molten. In fact, this is how metamorphic rock is formed. Okay, metamorphic rock is formed inside the earth. Down inside the earth. Okay? Not on the surface, and it can't be 300 Celsius on the surface of the earth or life couldn't have evolved. See, everything would just boil away. Sorry. Okay? Another.
Correct. Metamorphic rock is more often than not metamorphized way below the surface. In the context of what we have just discussed, I want you to look at this and think very carefully. Every bit of rock you saw in that clip was metamorphic rock, and, on the surface. How do you think that rock, which was metamorphized deep down, appears on the surface? I'll give you a clue. No dogs went pop or sizzled in the making of this video. Get a life, Neph. Get out that room and enjoy what nature has to offer you. Totally free of charge. Don't be a turnip all your life.